SPP carved on the northern side.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at Hadrian's Wall, Hare Hill, and this is my first substantial chunk of the wall unrestored. And a couple of ladies told me that the bed and breakfast I wanted to stay in is jammed up tonight, probably. This is a trail that goes along the side of the road, just to give you some separation from people. And a magnificent view. We pan up to it. Some little town across that valley. And then here, a section of the wall that's been preserved. Presumably this is a mile castle. We'll see in just a moment. This is actually Banks East Turret 52A, and turrets were put halfway, two of them were put in between the castles. The castles were built 1 Roman mile apart. It's 1.37 kilometers, I think, apart. And here it's pretty clear how it was constructed. It looks like the finished stones, of course, finished the outside, and then the core of the buildings and the walls were of larger stone that looks like in a matrix of some kind of cement, which the Romans had, of course. And we can only imagine how this was used. This interpretive sign tells us in about 1 mile east of here we can follow the line of Hadrian's Wall to Syke turret 51A. Visit 3 remains of turrets and a signal tower. And looking somewhat eastward, I'll just pan across this beautiful view as I start to walk away from that signal post. Where exactly they were signaling, I'm not sure. Of course, the purpose of signaling was to bring, to amass troops when there was a threat at a certain point. Okay, where we just were is Pike Hill Signal Tower, and since I'm moving from left to right, from west to east, I've just gotten off that little path that was on the other side of the wall from the road, and now I'm back on the road, and presumably in a couple of more feet we'll be back off the road again to the left, it looks like. And we should be able to see turn 51B there too, and the remains of the ditch. And then a little bit further, Syke turret. There are all these strategies of getting us through a wall. Sometimes there's steps where you just step up and then step back down. This one's a little bit different because it's a step up and then you have a little gate you open and then you step through. Okay, we're now at Syke turret 51A. Here are some renditions of what apparently turrets can look like. And here's a view into one. And like the defensive towers of the feud and people in Albania, down here was storage area. Up here is where the family lived. Here in this instance, the soldiers defended from up here. And there's that little stairway up to it. Here another drawing, and it says that the western 30 miles of Hadrian's Wall was first built of turf with stone turrets. Within about 10 years, the turf wall was replaced with stone, and this turret was incorporated into the new stone wall. Notice that we have here a ditch right there to the north, and that's this ditch here. You can just make it out past the fence between here and that down-sloping wall, which slopes down into the ditch. And then we're standing at the wall, of course, where the turret was installed within. And then to our right, behind me, would be first the military way, then a mound, then the deep vallum, then a south mound. And we'll see if we can see any of them. And the answer is almost a resounding no, unless that over there is one of those ditches. So here's a very good view of the north ditch. Notice that it seems to be higher than where we're standing right now, which should be right where the wall was, but To my right is where the road is, probably was where the military road was. Why this would have been a little bit higher other than it just was, I don't know whether it had a military advantage or not. So here we turn right off this road to Cumbria Crag. Here looks like a different colored sheep because while they have some black on their heads, not completely darkly covered, and they're not white. And thus that's just the outer layer of a sheep before it gets shorn, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And we have to presume, I think, that this ditch here is part of the Roman wall. Theoretically, I'm walking on the path right now. At least this is where the pathway is. All of this looks like the remains of the wall, at least a partial width of the wall for this considerable length. And it looks like here was a space, we'll see what it says, through the wall. So I'm guessing this would have been another turn. This is actually quite a long section of original wall that we're following. Here the path enters in where this large house is. Yet if I look to the right, which is to the south, certainly seems to be a continuation of the wall in that direction. So this is the Birdoswald Roman Fort. Remains of Hadrian's Wall and Birdoswald Roman Fort. This is an original window arch from the east gateway of the fort. I suspect that most of all of this is a reproduction. Church, which has been converted to a hostel, and it was supposed to be packed right up, but only one guy came into our 6-bed dorm, my 6-bed dorm, and he came in late in the evening quietly and left early in the morning quietly. That's my little table from last night's dinner here in this hotel, pub, for lack of a better term. There's the dessert menu on the left and the specials on the right. Last night it was packed right up. Huge dinner and water and big dish full of ice cream for, I think it was 13 pounds.